All right, welcome everybody. We're just getting everybody in.
Hello.
And today we have Jill with us to talk about blogging and SEO and how we can use that on our websites, which is pretty cool. Um, So yeah, we'll make sure we get everybody in and get started because this is a great topic talking about blogging. It makes me feel a little bit old. I started blogging, I think in 2005, and I had a Zanga page, which nobody's ever heard of, but they were fun. It was what all the teen girls were using to blog back then. So I'm gonna change my view to gallery so I can see you all. All right, and we're recording. So I'm going to get started and we'll have everybody else hop in as they come. So sometimes we need to go back to the basics of what is a blog. So a blog is a page on your website. It's kind of, I think of it like a magazine article, and it's a great way to educate your audience and to increase traffic. Jill's going to get into that. So one thing that I will add is that blogs are longer than social media posts. They can be kind of seasonal or they can be evergreen content. And they're really a helpful way to do organic digital marketing that is on your own platform. So, like we've talked about before, if social media posts are our peripheral nerves, platforms that we own, like your Cherry Picked Webco site and your blog and your email newsletter, those are all the spine that then moves us towards the brain, which is our referrals, our new patients, all of those things. So, a blog is a great thing that you can add. And we're going to tell you, like, it's not really that hard to add a blog into what you're doing. So I'm going to start off with what to write about because it can be kind of daunting to think, what are we actually talking about on this blog? But when we get into it, it gets kind of simpler. So Jill will talk more about researching this, but if you brainstorm ideas around your main pillars of what you do, maybe you see kids, so pediatric chiropractic is going to be one of your pillars, then we're going to want to have some ideas under that umbrella. So we want to think about what we want in our practice, but who we already have, what frequently asked questions we have, and even social media posts that have done really well that you think, oh, people really talked, people were interested in that short post, that video about PMS. Maybe this should be a blog post. So, Jill, why don't you go ahead with your part of the things that we need for a blog post with SEO, especially because that's a great goal.
Yeah, definitely. So hi guys, it's nice to see all of some of your faces. I haven't seen you guys in a while, and some of you I've seen like a few weeks ago, so it's really nice. Um, so as far as keyword research, I like to just say, there's a few ones I personally like. I love answerthepublic.com and exploding topics. You can use them free or paid. It doesn't matter, like whatever works best for you. I always just use the free version because I get enough content. And then also the top 3 words or sites you can use for keyword research are Google Keyword Planner. It's great because it gives you insight in how people search on the platform itself. You can also discover new keyword ideas such as search volume data and how competitive specific keywords are. And this is really good for beginners or businesses on a budget. And then you have, I always say this wrong, I feel like, or Ahrefs. It's Ahrefs. It's very, very powerful for people like me, but if you're wanting to know all the trade secrets, that's a good one. And this is more for advanced users who are blogging and doing it for themselves. And then SEMrush is another popular one. So it's super comprehensive. And this would be like an intermediate to advanced level. But those are the 5 you can use to keyword research.
I love that because a lot of times it does think about, I mean, we do think about polling our audiences, and that's also good. But sometimes people don't answer us when we're like, what do you want to hear about? And they're like, I don't know. And they're like, I don't know, I've got to get my kids to volleyball. I don't know what I need to hear about. but it's helpful to use some of those things to really mine for topics and to see what we should be using as our keywords.
Definitely.
So tell us more about where we're using those keywords. Is it just for the topic, or do we need to use those keywords in the text of what we're writing?
So you want to use them not only in like the content of what you're writing, but you also need to use them in the meta descriptions, the header tags of the blog page, so that people can, it's basically everywhere. When it comes to writing style, we want to make sure we're not keyword stuffing. And if you do, that's when the content becomes really hard to read. And so we just suggest doing, 2 to 3% of the words of the total content. I am not great with math, but say you have 1,000 words and you want 2 to 3% of those words to be a keyword phrase like pregnancy chiropractic care, your city, your town, your state, your name. 2 to 3% of those 1,000 words need to be keywords.
Right, right. And I feel like the more we do it, the more naturally that comes. So I will get into AI and using it in just a second, and Jill will bounce off of that as well. But you can easily spot something that is keyword stuffed when it's like pregnancy chiropractic in Wichita, Kansas. If you are looking for a prenatal chiropractor in Wichita, Kansas, we are a great option. A prenatal chiropractor in Wichita, Kansas is gentle and specific. Like it. You see it, you read it, you're immediately like, this was not written by, there was no human intelligence behind this at all. Yeah. It gets old. We understand that pretty quickly. So in formatting our post, which Jill kind of talked about, readability is the key. We want people to be able to read through it. So we want to keep paragraphs short. We want to speak in a natural voice, and we want to draw them in by using second person. So instead of saying we or they or people with or pregnant moms, we want to say you. It's just a lot more familiar. I use contractions, which Grammarly tries to tell me no on, but it is a lot more of a natural flow if you are using contractions, and the average is about a sixth grade reading vocabulary. So if you do any,
Hold on, pause. Did you just say the average reading comprehension is at a 6th grade level?
that's the level that we want. So if you do like a spell check and it tells you like the Fleisch, it's like Fleisch Kincaid or something reading level, you want to keep it at about a sixth grade level. We don't want to use multiple big flowery words because we just don't have time or energy to read through those. We're skimming through it. One thing that I tell people when they're like, how long, is we do need to get it enough words for SEO purposes that we have repeated that keyword naturally enough times. So right now, 600 to 1,000 words. I would even say, depending on the topic, 600 to 1,200 words is a great length. But I think of it as, how long is it going to take people to read through this? So even if you've seen some articles online where it tells you the reading length in minutes at the top, the average person reads 250 words a minute. So if you have a blog post that is 500 words, it'll take them 2 minutes. So with that, you can see, okay, if it is 1,000 words long, it'll take them 4 minutes. I'm kind of rounding. So 1,000 words seems like it's long, but if they can skim through it in 4 minutes, we're good. Also, we really, yeah.
I want to add here that Google will reward content that's comprehensive and provides value. Obviously, they look at between 800 and 1,500 words.
Perfect.
Is Google's definition of deal. But like what Jenna's saying is really powerful, because Google is Google, right? We're dealing with human beings. So we have to get into the mindset of like, machine versus human. And if your ideal client's a busy mom, like she's probably not going to have 5 minutes to sit down and read because she's got to change the diaper, make the lunch, do all the things. So I think when we talk about this, keep in mind when you blog, it's okay to go back and forth with like a longer form content or
Mm,
like a short 2-minute read. And I think that's okay as
yeah.
long as the content is relative to the topic at hand. It's also super helpful. Like it's actually going to help them and they want to read it. And it's something they could share with their friends too.
Yes. So another thing with that is, like you said, someone who's busy and reading through it, who wants the information, but they're like, wow, how long is this? Is H2 headers. So subheaders, that's also really powerful place to have your keywords in a natural way, because I love black words on a white page, but I'm going to skim through for the headings and then I'm going to go back and read that section. So when I write, I usually try to make sure I don't have more than 300 words without a subheading. So a 1,500 word article, we want it broken up into like 5 sections. And with that, then like Jill said, you might discover that, man, if this article is getting really long, maybe you want to break it into two and you want to have two 600 words, just because you're going to be really specific and targeted on the content of this. Maybe, you're just, instead of talking about all of prenatal chiropractic, you're really talking about Webster in this blog post. And then you have another one that is more comprehensive on prenatal chiropractic, but then you link back to your Webster one instead of explaining it all in that other article. So definitely breaking it up, bullet points, those kinds of formatting things really help Google as Google is crawling that page to see what's important, what it could use as a summary, and all of those things. And then Jill can talk to this more as well, but we do want to have a link in that blog post that is to another part of your own site. So another blog article, like I said, the prenatal one having a link to your Webster article. Even I sometimes do it at the bottom where I said, you might be interested in reading this article, even if it isn't directly related. And then it's really helpful to have an external link that goes to a study, another expert, a resource, not Wikipedia, obviously, but another trusted news source from a journal, I would say not another blog, so not another chiropractor's website. That just does not give us a lot of authority, and Google is all about us providing the helpful expertise and authority. So do you have more on that, Jill, with linking other things?
Yeah. So if you can think of SEO, when we talk about SEO, we can get caught up in a lot of different things. And if I unmuted you all and I asked you what's the first thing you think of SEO, you would all have a different answer, and none of them are wrong. It's just SEO is one of those beasts of a thing where it's a lot. Blogging helps with it. And so internal linking is a secret weapon a lot of people don't use. But if you can guide your readers to other relevant content on your site to say older pages, one factor of SEO is time spent on the website. And so if they're spending time in one blog post and they're really enjoying it, and then you're suggesting to them suggested content, or, hey, check this page out, that time spent on site just went from, say, the 2 to 4 minutes we're talking about with one blog post to maybe potentially doubling that, to 8 minutes. And now your average time spent on site just went up, right? So that's kind of like a secret trick to the trade that's really powerful. And then just along the lines of external links, Jen already touched on it, but it just gives you credibility. And then what's even more powerful is if you could get that website to link you. So since we're in the vein of pregnancy and chiropractic, the ICPA is a great one. If you are Webster certified, they do have a directory of their Webster certified docs, I believe. So they should be linking your website, and just make sure that they have. So then when you link to them, that is a correct and proper and successful backlink strategy, and that would be considered an external link. So
Great. I love that. So another thing that I always tell people with blogs is to set a featured image. And so that can be, if you think about like on YouTube, a horizontal graphic, you can find it easily in the formats, the specifics on Canva, but we want to link basically a horizontal image. You don't have to do anything fancier with that. It could just be an office picture that is your featured image for that blog post. I like to take it up a notch and put some words on it in Canva. Maybe it isn't the exact title, but something with that. Maybe the blog post is about headaches and migraines, and so the featured image is a cervical adjustment, and it says, got headaches, and it could be as simple as that. And then part of the SEO is the title, and now I'm going to forget it, the alt text. You can then, in the alt text and the title of that, when you load it into your website, you can add some keywords like, cervical adjustment photo with the words got headaches, Toronto, Canada, something like that. So it's not just making it more visually pleasing, it's actually helpful that you've added an image. And, again, making it a more personalized thing. That I know that there's a lot of blog posts that are just with stock images, and that's fine. But if you do have some photos, get that photographer in, and then you're going to be able to use that, and it's just going to provide this cohesive look to your blog page as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So then at the end of a blog post, I always put a what from Journalism Days boilerplate, a boilerplate paragraph about your services and how you can be reached, linking to your appointment page, really telling them what you want them to do next. If you have a special incentive for new patients that you have on your website or something, but that's something that you can just copy at the end of each blog post. I like to kind of have the format of, the first paragraph being something interesting, more you focused, bringing them in, giving them information, having some bullet points, having some H2 headers, and then towards the end saying, don't take our word for it. Here's what one of our patients says. And then you copy a Google review and you put that in there. And then you say, are you interested in learning more? Here's our article about, migraines specifically. And then that boilerplate of ready to get adjusted, let's get your nervous system checked. Here's how you reach us. And then underneath that, I would put resources, and I would put any studies or links or things that you have. So it becomes this really, and in the membership, we have that outline, and I'm going to share it again. But it becomes a really easy thing of your kind of filling in the outline of those things. Yes. And so Dr. Lewis has a question. If you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question, that'd be great.
So did you also say to put I don't know what you call it, I'm all new at this, a button there, like the make appointment button or something like that in the boilerplate paragraph at the end so they can just click right on it? Would that be a good idea?
It doesn't have to be a button. It can be as simple as just the link, just so that they can see, here's the blue underlined thing that we're all conditioned to click on. Just because even though your website ideally has the menu at the top with contact us, it's so much, we just give it to them everywhere that they might see it, might need it, to say, now you've read all of this, you've read a review, we've given you the studies, we've given you the information, go ahead and take action. And then they don't have to click anywhere else, and they can just go right to it. Wonderful. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Jill? And then we'll move into promoting it.
No, I think that's all good. I would say a button too, though, Dr. Singer, if like buttons aren't bad, so don't be afraid to shy away from using buttons in there. But that's just my 2 cents, because I think about, we're kind of in the vein of the pregnancy thing and moms, and a button just might be easier to spot. So that's my only 2 cents there.
Awesome. Okay, so now once we have these blog posts, and we didn't talk about, but Jill, how often, as a website designer, how often would you like us to post a blog on our website?
So I always say consistency is key, and it's quality over quantity. That applies to a lot of things in life, but especially with your content, because again, we want to make sure it's good, high quality content. And because we want people to think, if this is what I get and it's completely free and it is so helpful, what is it like to pay them for their help? That's
Mhm.
kind of the goal, right? Is to just make them want to use you as an authoritative figure in their home, as like a health figure. So obviously more often is better, right? So Google, the last time I have checked, runs indexing every 3 months. And so we just want to make sure we have something new, fresh, and updated on a site. Every 3 months is like the bare minimum effort. I don't advise that. I would
Yeah,
say if you can realistically get in, 4 blog posts a month, that's once a week. I think that's totally doable. If that's super overwhelming, shoot for twice a month. If you're not making that happen, shoot for once a month at least. So then the next time Google runs their indexing and audits, at least you have several pieces of new content there. My last and final thought on this point is, if you guys are overwhelmed by online marketing or blogging specifically, since this is what this call's about, it's really helpful if you can block schedule time. So if there is a Monday in your month towards the beginning or end, depending on wherever your schedule falls, if you can just block schedule 2 to 3 hours of your time and just get content and schedule it out, you will thank yourselves in the long run, because then it doesn't become that overwhelming after all. Our blogging platform on Cherry Picked, you can schedule. I'm not familiar with other platforms or their blogging capabilities. I'm sure you can do that, but just look for a future post or scheduling option so that you can make your 4 blog posts in that couple hour time. And I know Jenna touched on AI. So I have a blog prompt. I didn't tell her I was going to do this, but I have a
go
blogging
for it.
prompt that I can email or send out in our group, whatever, that you can literally plug it into AI and it will give you blog posts. So all you have to do is think of the topic, give the prompt and the topic to AI, and it generates the post for you. That is keyword rich. So that takes out a lot of the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So this stuff isn't hard, and that's why you have Jenna and I. So
yeah. I love that. And with AI, I will say too, if you've written a social media post, you can give it to AI and say, here's my social media post that I wrote about PMS and the nervous system and chiropractic. Please make this into a 800-word blog post with H2 headers, at least one bullet point, and you're going to get something. It's just going to save you a bunch of time. I do know that there have been some people who have said, if you haven't personalized your prompt and if you haven't edited the content on the other side, that Google will feel like, was this AI? And so that is where the human intelligence comes in, of having the good prompt, and then reading back through it. We wouldn't ever just put on makeup and walk out the door without looking in the mirror. So yeah, just doing that. But AI can save you so much time on doing those things. Even if if you love writing and you wanted to, ask AI to give you an outline and then you fill it in.
yeah.
If you get the outline going, or you say, what are 3 things that I should cover? What are people researching? What are 3 things that I should cover in this blog post? And just use it to bounce ideas off of and brainstorm. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Also, guys, if you're using ChatGPT as one of the most popular ones, there's also Claude.ai, and maybe this is a phone call and training for another day.
Yeah.
But you actually train your AI about you by giving it specifics on you. And then if you're not sure how you write, because a lot of complaints I have gotten with AI is, oh, well, it sounds like AI. Not if you train it.
Yeah.
I will out myself here. It's fine. We're in the group, but 75% of my content I put out is done using AI. Actually, 100% of the content I put out is done using AI because it saves me so much time. But I've trained my AI how I sound, and the knowledge base that I know, I have fed it what I know, and then it gives me the content in a very organized way.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to proofread it, read through it, make sure that it's not using words I would never say. But it's a lot easier to edit a document than to come up with it from scratch. So
Yes. And we definitely will have an AI call because it is growing and so helpful. I'm using Claude.ai and it has I feel like a more literary language, which is helpful. And it has projects, so you can put in a whole list of prompts and then go back to it and say, hey, you know that thing where I said we were doing blog posts? You pull up that project and it already knows what you're doing. So then you don't have to start from scratch every time. So that's cool in Claude.
can also, there's a resource called oceanofpdf.com where you can download almost any book in a PDF form. So say there's like chiropractic research books on there, you can upload that into a Claude project, and now your information is based out of research. I have this one, which we'll dive into this later, but it's called Notebook LM through Google, and I have an entire project with every single green book uploaded there. So if I wanted to create, any type of content around chiropractic, I would go there. And now it's not based on the Google gods and spinal manipulation and terms like that, but it's all based in chiropractic research, which is really cool. So
It is really cool. So the last point that I want to cover is now that we have it on there and it's SEO rich, it's going to be bringing in views from Google, right? But we can also give it a little bit more juice by taking that link and posting it on Facebook, taking that image and posting it on Facebook and putting the link in the comments. We can do a series of graphics on Instagram, like a carousel, and say, want to learn more? Like these are just the bullet points. Learn more in our blog post.
Yeah.
You can do a Facebook Live and say, if you want to, share this, send it to your sister, then go to my blog post that talks about it more. I would also say your email newsletter. A blog is such a great thing because then you can have the shortest email newsletter that gives a little bit of a teaser, shares maybe your email newsletter is just the review that you put into your blog post and then a link to it. So you keep sending traffic back to your website because there's something new there for them. And it's nurturing your current people who are on your email list. It's not just bringing in new things. The other thing that I don't know if anybody does it, but I keep saying it, is for your front desk, or if you are your front desk, to be aware of what topics are on your blog so that your front desk can say, actually, doctor did a blog post about ear infections. Let me text you that link. So then the front desk is able to really directly educate with something that you said once, and now it's going to be used 1,000 times. So that's a really helpful thing because even if they're like, I think about me and my sisters, and if I want to tell my sister, but I want it to come from a place of authority from my chiropractor, then yeah, I want the blog link so that I can just send it to my sister and be like, see, I told you. But it's actually from Dr. Ryan, and it's actually has the review, it has those studies, it has those links. It's going to be easy for her to read through, and she'll be like, oh, hey, this is actually something I didn't know that about children's ear canals, so all of that. So we really, once you have it up, then especially if it is on a weekly basis, then maybe one of your newsletters the next month says, here's those 4 blog posts, here's those 4 topics, click and learn more. So that can be really helpful.
yes, I love repurposing content because I am like the laziest when it comes to my own business and promoting content ever. People think I'm really good at it, but what they don't know is I use the same piece of content literally everywhere. I
Yes.
use it in my email marketing, I use it in my blogging, I use it on my social media. If I could share my screen with you guys, I would. But I have, like, for this call, I wrote out all this content, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to then take that content and use it in a blog post. So, you know, in 2025, my goal is to teach more, to put more educational content out there for my community I've built the past 3 years, and really like dive into topics they want to know about. And so how I'm going to do that is, again, repurposing and, you know, knocking the dust off the boots kind of,
Yeah.
you know, stuff of like taking things I've said before. It takes, again, online stuff can be overwhelming until you get those like nifty tricks of using one piece of content at least 3 times. That's our rule, cherry picked. And that's the rule that I've taught my team, is like, when I come up with something, it needs to go somewhere 3 different times. So social media, email, blog. That's an
Yes.
example.
Yes.
That's like at a
Absolutely.
minimum.
Mm-hmm. And
So
even that's why it, you know, like in the calendar, we have those topics. And, you know, if the calendar topic is start well, finish strong, which is the new graphics I just loaded into the hub. You have 20 new graphics, start well, finish strong, and World Kindness Day for November. And so even if, you know, you take just some of those ideas that you were going to do on social media and you turn them into blog posts, which turn into email newsletters, we don't have to reinvent the wheel or come up with new ideas. We just need to make sure that those ideas are presented in different ways, kind of like the idea of a potato. You know, that potato is going to be soup, and it's going to be French fries, and it's going to be vodka. So use all of the things in all the ways.
I think that's my favorite example you've ever given, because it's hysterical, because it's true. I love that. And
Yeah.
then one quote that I love is, good marketing is not saying 1,000 things one time. Good marketing is saying one thing 1,000 times. So for you, you might say, well, repurposing content, like, what if the same person reads all of it on all the places? They're going to know. It's like, that's okay. But what about the 10 people who find it the one place once? Then
Mhm.
the person who's consuming all of your content, they must really love you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But you
And
have
we
to.
all need the reminders. My kids had school photos, and I don't know how many emails I've gotten from the photographer reminding me to buy those photos. But like, we need the reminders, because it's like, yeah, 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 I want the photos. Oh no, I didn't buy the photos. So we all need the reminders, like, oh yeah, I was gonna take my child in. Oh yeah, I was gonna send that to my mom. So all the useful things. So I'm gonna wrap it up for today. I will put the replay in the hub and in the group. Ask any questions. I'm going to list out some of those resources that Jill shared as well, so that you can find those. If you need help with blogging though, reach out to Jill, because she has specific ways to help you automate that and get that going as well. So that is today's call. If anybody has any questions, again, reach out by email to either of us, Jenna@adjustermedia.com, Jill at cherrypickedwebco.com, and anytime in the group as well. And I do still have a Reels, what's the word? Not challenge. Contest for everybody. So tag us in a reel and you'll be entered to win that challenge. And we will talk to you all next month.